Why have I not thought about this? Like, it honestly shocked me. I was just like, bam, bam, bam. And I was like, I got the coach between the countries and it was all good in the hood. The biggest things that you're going to face are, number 1, loneliness. Number 2, the opposite of loneliness, which I can't think of what that is, but it's like, hello to me, future me. I heard somebody crossing the road and talking to their friend, and they were like a student, and they were talking about anxiety, and someone was like, what's anxiety? And I was like, anxiety, I get that all the time, my friend. I'm not gonna lie, because when this episode goes out, I'm currently recording this a month before this episode is gonna go out, and the episode is gonna go out on, I don't really know, but sometime in March, and I am either gonna be on a plane somewhere in a different country in Asia, so hello to me, future me. Basically, I'm finally going and like actually living my life again like I wanted to. I was owed a lot of money and I got paid a lot of that money, and as a result I actually have money now, so I can go and like travel and live my life and not just sit at home and go to work and then come home and cry, basically, because I was like crying because I was like, all I do is go home and go to work and come home and cry, and that was literally my whole life. Oh, and obviously podcast and, you know, edit videos and, you know, like daily life stuff, but like I wanted to go and explore the world. I'm not young forever. So, you know, don't wait till you're retired, because I've seen a lot of people, they get old, they're like, woo, I'm going to go live my life now. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go and explore. I'm going to like relax and do things. And then they get cancer and then they die. Or they get something else horrible and then they die. Or their partner gets really ill and then they can't go, or they have to do it alone. And so what I'm getting at is, don't wait till you're retired. But I thought I'd do like a travelling section. How have I never done this before? Well, probably because I thought travelling was just off the table for me. But now I'm back on the travelling game, and I'm quite an extensive traveller. Should I say that? Like, should I tell you my information, my credentials? I've been to most parts of the world. The parts that I haven't been to are Australia, New Zealand, like Oceania area, and like the Americas. They're my two to be tackled. South America and America are next, I'm telling you. They're coming later this year. Coming to a cinema near you. But for now, we're doing Asia again. I don't know why I'm doing it again, but it's fucking lovely. So I should probably be in, when this comes out, like I'll be in Indonesia or something. I literally just applied for my visa, so as long as they accept me, you know, I assume they will, because they're like, we want the monies. And then I'll be going to the Philippines, and then I'll probably be going to Thailand, maybe a bit Cambodia, maybe a bit of Laos. Anyway, I don't need to rub it in. So these are my traveling episodes. So I thought, why haven't I done this before? So I'm like, right, let's do them now. Why have I not thought about this? Like, it honestly shocked me. So today's episode, after that very long introduction into my travelling series, it's because I'm excited. I just bought a new iPad for travelling. I know that's such a fucking first world gap year thing, isn't it? But you'll find out why. You will. So today is all about how I look after my mental health whilst travelling alone. It doesn't necessarily have to be alone. In fact, I have travelled not alone before. Let me tell you where I've been. Okay. Whew, Christ. When I was younger, I went to Canada, but that's not really like travelling. Like, I went there on a family holiday. So when I was in... this might not be very exciting, but when I actually did some podcast episodes on this. When I was in... medical school, I went and worked in Greece and Cyprus. So I stayed there for 3 months each, and I did that for 2 summers. And then I did some traveling as well. So I went to Thailand in that time. And then in like F1 and F2, like just when I qualified as a doctor, I basically did like all of Europe. I was like, right, Europe, I'm coming for you. I did pretty much, one time I did like 3 countries in a row, and then I flew back, and then I would just do that. Like, because Europe is so cheap for us to fly there, I was just like, bam, bam, bam. And I was like, I got the coach between the countries and it was all good in the hood. So I did like Austria, Czech Republic. I've obviously done France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal. Anyway, I did loads of places like Poland, Hungary, Austria, those kind of places, and the Czech Republic. And there are a few places I haven't been in Europe, but once you've done a few European countries, they're all kind of the same. Like nice little castle, quaint little, towns. And then also there's a lot of places in Europe that are a little bit unsafe. And a lot of places in the Middle East that I obviously haven't been because they're unsafe. And I don't plan on going there. There are also quite a lot of places in Asia that I haven't been. So then I went travelling. Oh, I forgot. At the end of medical school, I went travelling. I went to South Africa, did my elective there as a medical student, where you work in the hospitals there. Saw a lot of crazy things, and mainly people getting stabbed and shot and run over. And then I went to Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore. We did those 3 in one. And then I did some expedition medicine. So I went to Morocco, and I went to, where is it? Tanzania. So I've done a bit of Africa. And then it continues. And then we went to Norway over COVID. I also went to Gibraltar. And then we just went to Tenerife. So now I'm going back to Asia. Going back. I'm gonna, like I said, I already said where I'm going, blah, 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 nobody cares. So, yeah, I would say traveling alone can be quite scary. It can also be really, like, anxiety provoking. I went and did a festival on my own, terrifying. I think that was probably, the alcohol and everything like that, and feeling kind of lonely, but, like, not alone. Lonely, but not alone. So, I've experienced a lot of things, and some of those places that I just said to you, I did actually travel to alone. Many places I did, actually. Many places, I really don't know how I'm still alive, because I did a lot of, like, really stupid stuff. Anyway, one of my next episodes, the third episode in this, like, travel series, is how I look after my safety and possessions whilst travelling in dangerous areas. So, that's coming up. So I don't need to tell you how I almost died several times, because it's coming up soon, and I'm very excited for that. But probably the biggest thing is when you're traveling alone, looking after your mental health, the biggest things that you're going to face are, number 1, loneliness. Number 2, the opposite of loneliness, which I can't think of what that is, but it's like social overwhelm, I suppose, like too many people. And that's quite common in like Asian countries. There's a lot of people, or if you're going to a city, a lot of people. Number 3 is like meeting new people. That's another thing. So I'm going to talk, and there's some more, but I don't want to just like tell you everything in one go. So I'm just going to I'm going to cover those things first, and then we'll move on. So loneliness. To be honest, the only time I've really experienced loneliness when I've been travelling was when I was at a festival. Now, the main problem is everyone at a festival, I wouldn't really call it travelling, but I did travel there, so I'm going to count it. The main issue at a festival is everyone's with their friends. The difference is when you go travelling, like to another country, and you're in like a travelling destination, you're not like on a holiday. Like they're different things. When you go on holiday, I'm talking like you go to, Tenerife, for example. I would say that's more of a holiday country than a travelling country. There's a difference. I know, there's a difference. It's crazy. So, and I don't really know how to explain that, but like there are places where people will go on family holidays, and there are places where people won't, if you get what I mean. Like you just have to sort of figure that shit out. So I felt lonely when I went on to the festival on my own. It's a bad idea. Don't go to a festival on your own unless you are. I'm a very confident person, but I'm also like, I felt very angst, as I call it. I felt very angst. So when I go travelling, like actual travelling now we're talking about, I think people would worry that they would feel lonely. But I tell you what, everyone is so much more receptive to accepting randos pretty much into their group. It's a very different atmosphere. It's like, you know, you go and then like you'll meet some people, and to be fair, I've met like 2 people who are traveling together, and then I've been like a person on my own, and I'll like go and do stuff with them, and that's not unheard of. Like I have done that quite a few times, and I've been fine with that. And then you kind of have to just accept that you're probably going to go on your separate ways and do your own thing, and you might not ever see each other again. In fact, I actually found a picture of 2 girls who I met whilst I was in Amsterdam. That was another place I went when I went on my European travels. When I went to Amsterdam, and I've kept it because it was like an instant picture, and I don't know why, they were so cute, and they said, let's you can take a picture of us, and like I don't know, I've just still got it, and it was from, I want to say like, it must be 2018, or yeah, it was probably about then, 2018, 2019, it was before COVID obviously, and like the names are on it as well. They like wrote their names on it. Fucking cuties, aren't they? They were a bit younger than me, but they were like fine, and they were, I can't remember where they were from, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, and then I met they were in the same room as me. It was like a female only dorm. There were 4 beds, but there was only 3 of us in there. And then 2 other people, like they swapped, and then 2 American girls came. Now, those 2 American girls that came were completely different. They were like blonde hair. One was like a supermodel, basically. Like all the boys loved her. And she had like legs taller than me. So I felt like a little hobbit, basically. And she like flounced around, like looking beautiful. And so did the other one. And they were like really like loud, and like they were just so different. So the good thing about meeting people when you're traveling is that you can just, if you are tired of them, or if you're kind of done, or the opposite, if you want to stay with them for longer, you can do that. You know, if you haven't got any plans, I think probably the good thing to do is not to make firm plans for the whole of your travels. So what I've done is I've booked my flight there to Indonesia, and I've done this quite often, and it's fine. And then you book your first night, and then you go, okay, where should I go tomorrow? And then you just book it whilst you're there. There's often Wi-Fi, you can just connect to it, book an Airbnb or whatever for the next day or the next couple of days, and then just make it up as you go. Like it's you know, as long as you're fine, like sort of going anywhere, like you're not like, no, I need to go to a 5-star place, although the 5-star places are not going to be sold out, don't worry. It will be like the budget places or like medium places that are more sold out. Then you're probably fine just leaving it to the last minute. And also I just book leave the travel, unless there's some things you are like, I will not be happy unless I leave this country without having done this. I.e., for me, I want to go to the Komodo National Park in Indonesia. And if I don't go there and I leave Indonesia, I will be a bit sad. So I'm going to book that in advance. There are certain things that you should book in advance like that. If you're like, I'm dying to go there, the only reason I'm going there is because of this, or, you know, I will feel sad if I don't go, then don't leave that until the last minute. And you can kind of book, you know, your travel around it. So I've booked my flight out of Indonesia, and then I haven't yet booked my flight home. So it's just like, I don't know what's happening yet, but it'll be fine. It'll be all right. So yeah, that's kind of like meeting people. Loneliness, again, I don't really get that lonely. I think you have to be, if you're not the kind of person who can't talk to anybody, that was a lot of double negatives, I'm very sorry. If you are the type of person who struggles to speak to people that you don't know, not me, I'm very much the opposite of that. I can talk to fucking anyone, but that's because I'm a doctor and I talk to literally everybody every day, and I ask them their, you know, some very intimate questions, and it's just like normal for me. So when I meet like normal humans in a normal human environment, and then I ask them like really personal questions, I think people are a little bit like, ooh, taken aback by that, my friend. But then I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to explain. I'm like, I'm sorry, I am a doctor, so I like ask people very personal questions, and it sometimes just doesn't register with me. I'm very sorry about that. So if you're the kind of person who struggles with that, if you go stay at hostels, now just find a really nice hostel that's got good reviews and is fairly inexpensive, and it's it's got really good reviews, like it's safe and it's really sociable. Find like a social hostel, not a party hostel. Party hostels sound great. Yeah, they are if you are a party person and if you are with somebody else, I would say. Because I've been to party hostels and it's kind of a little bit awkward to start with because everyone's there partying with their friends and then it's kind of hard to like get to know everybody. Whereas if you go to like a social hostel, I would say they're different things. If you go to like a more social hostel, then you can, they put on like events and you can go to those and you can meet people there. And you can meet people in like a situation that's easier to talk to them, not like a fucking party, which you're like, hello. And there's always a language barrier because everybody speaks English, but like then you add in drunk and then you add in like loads of noise and lots of people shouting over each other, and then it's like that, although everybody speaks English, it gets more difficult. So I've had some really great, you go to the events and you start at the beginning, like go at the beginning, don't go like 2 hours in, because if you go 2 hours in, everyone's drunk, everyone's met everybody already, and then you just turn up like, hello, I'm a random person, I haven't been here the whole time. And yeah, you can go on like bar crawls, or they just have like, some of them have really chill events like beer tasting, or like I don't know, watching a movie or something like that. And it's kind of fun because it's like, oh, you're with like people that could be your friends, like you could like them, but also equally, if you don't like them, you can just leave them alone and go on your own journey. And that's the best thing, is when you go with somebody and you're with them for like 4 weeks, it can get a little bit like, oh my god, I'm kind of a bit done with like hanging out with you 24/7, sharing a bed with you, sharing the fucking toilet with you, like everything, eating all my meals with you. It can get a bit exhausting, even if you're really good friends. So I tell you what, some of the best times I've had when I've been traveling with friends is when we've gone our separate ways for like a day and then come back and we just like, it's like great again, because you've spent time, you've decompressed away from that person. So yeah, if you're struggling with loneliness, or I have been to some hostels before, or that aren't social, really hard to meet anybody, or hostel like Airbnbs, like you're not going to meet anybody if you go to an Airbnb. Like you need to go to a hostel, and some hostels are really nice. Like the only difference is you have like a shared kitchen, shared like living area, but you can get private rooms. Like you don't need to slum it out in a dorm if that's like not your vibe. Or I stayed in some really good pods before. I say pods plural. I've stayed in one pod, but it was good. It's like, you get your own privacy. What I don't like is like having an open room where it's just like everyone can just watch me sleep or whatever. And another thing is to make sure that if you stay in a dorm, that it's got like lockers and shit. And that was a really good bonus for the place that I stayed in Edinburgh. So yeah, I've talked about, I've done quite a lot of it already. The other thing is anxiety. That is probably, everyone's anxious nowadays, and going to a new place where you don't know anybody, especially if you're young, like when I was 18 or whatever, I had much worse anxiety than I have now. Now I'm chill AF because the drugs calm me down. But basically when you're younger, like anxiety is definitely a bigger thing, I would say. And then you add in alcohol, right? Alcohol makes me severely anxious the next day. Not severely, like I need to be hospitalized, but like I don't really want to like, do things. I'm like, no, I'm quite happy just lying in bed and not moving for a day. And that kind of ruins it. I would say unless alcohol does, you're fine with it, like you don't get the anxiety or the beer fear. I actually heard somebody, whilst I was coming out of hot yoga the other day, I heard somebody crossing the road and talking to their friend, and they were like a student, and they were talking about anxiety, and someone was like, what's anxiety? And I was like, oh, anxiety, I get that all the time, my friend. So probably one of the biggest things, like when I was at the festival, and the reason why I had such bad anxiety was because I was drinking and then hungover. So, you know, if you're anxious already and you don't really know anybody and, you know, you're trying to look after yourself, then drinking alcohol, it helps initially. But the next day you're going to be dying, okay? So I'm just going to pre-warn you, don't drink that much. Try and avoid it if you can, unless you're like on a beach and then, you know, you can just chill the day after. That's great. Crowdedness is another thing. It's not something I struggle with. I would just say if you struggle with crowded places, like avoid the big cities. You can do that for sure. I mean, I'm flying into Jakarta. You could easily fly into somewhere else. You know, Jakarta's the capital, I think. You could fly somewhere that's not the capital, or you could fly somewhere and then just leave straight away. Like just go somewhere that's not crowded. Go out of the city. You know, you could get a car rather than a what they called a bus or a train, which are horrendously crowded. So I'm okay as long as I'm like in a good headspace. I'm like, okay, I can handle, you know, when I'm like tired and fucking grumpy, I do not want to be faffing about with getting like horrendously crowded trains and shit like that. So, and also things like taxis and stuff are way cheaper in Asian countries for sure. I think you could also be anxious about your safety, which, yeah, that is a consideration, but I'm not going to talk about that today. I did say I'm going to talk about that in episode 3, so stay around for that one. Give it a little follow, and we'll be back in like a few days. I upload Mondays and Thursdays, so bi-weekly. Come and join me next time. So, feeling homesick. When I went to Edinburgh recently for a what's it called, conference, I was kind of worried that I would be really, really anxious because I went away, the time I went away before that was to the festival. So I took a little, what I would call like a keepsake with me. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but it sounds right, so I'm going to use it. Keepsake is basically like a little memento, like a little thing to remind you of home, and you're like, oh, and you can like hold it and you can be like, I know I sound really sappy, don't I? But it's like something that reminds you of home. It might be like a little toy, or what else could it be? A picture. That's why people, you always see in the films, they have like pictures of their kids and shit in their wallets, and it's to act as like a reminder of home. And you might get someone that you love to like sign it on the back, or I don't know, put their like kiss on it or something. Just something to like make you feel at home, because I don't really get that homesick, but you know, it's hard to like tell. I always take things that are like my favourite kind of things that make me feel homely. So I'll always take like a UK kind of snack. Like, it's always good to have a packet of Oreos in your bag. Like, I know that's not British, probably it's American, I don't know, but you know, something that's like, you know, when you don't want to eat curry for breakfast, because that is the thing. When I went to Vietnam, it was fucking curry for breakfast, and Malaysia and stuff. When you don't want to eat curry for breakfast, and you've had to eat curry for breakfast, you could maybe have an Oreo after, and it would make you feel so much better. I don't know. That's just how it works for me. Or you could wear like your favourite item of clothing, or something that like smells like your boyfriend, or like that reminds you of your dog, or something like that. Or you could have a picture of your doggy, or I don't know. Or you could, you know, stuff like that. I think what we've got now that's really great is like FaceTime. And I think, you know, a long time ago we didn't have those kind of things, or not even a long time ago. When I was younger, we didn't have FaceTime. So nowadays you can just FaceTime. It kind of feels similar. I know it's not the same, but it feels similar. Some of the things that you are going to have to deal with when you're traveling, though, is like time differences and also finding good enough Wi-Fi. Generally, you know, you can organise a time when it fits both of you. Like, it's not impossible. I literally FaceTimed my friend in Australia, not yesterday, the day before. And it was fine, you know, I just called her. It was like late here and it was morning there, so it was like fine. But you just need to like organize a time. Don't expect to like call people and them answer because it's 5 p.m. where you are. It might be like 3 a.m. where they are. And I think just enjoy yourself. Like, you're traveling, you're not going to experience it again. Well, you will, but like, you're not going to experience that exact time again. I think going with a friend is useful. I think if you're not, you're a little bit unsure of your mental health and your mental state and, your anxiety and whether you're going to be able to go alone, try and find a friend to go with. And even if it's only for the like first bit of it or stuff like that, and have very flexible plans. Don't go and book your flight home in when you book your flight out, because you will want to change it. Unless you have something you need to come home for, then fine. But generally it's like, I'll just come home in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. No, leave it. You can book it when you're out there. If you're having a shit time, book a flight back. If you're having a great time, wait a bit. It's fine. Money dependent, obviously. So next episode we'll be talking about how I look after my physical health whilst travelling, because it's very difficult. You're in a different culture, you're in a different country, you're in a different climate, and I find that I get a lot of problems, and I'm going to talk about how I fix them. Constipation is probably the biggest one for me, and exercise as well. So I'm going to talk about those. Tune in for the next episode and think of me whilst you're listening, because I'll be, hopefully lying on a beach somewhere, not getting eaten by a Komodo dragon, but it's highly possible. I could also be, they've got active volcanoes in Indonesia, so I could be like singed to a little crispy, or what else? I don't know, I could have fucking blown up in the aeroplane or something like that, or I could be fine. I could be lying on a beach or swimming in a swimming pool and just having a great time. So, think good thoughts, Dawn. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Remember, I do upload every Monday and Thursday, and bringing your bi-weekly dose of positivity from Dr. Dawn Barlow. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, please share it with a friend, family, or whoever will listen. And give it a 5-star rating on Spotify podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to. If you are listening on the podcast, by the way, did you know I have a YouTube channel? It's at Dawn Barlow. And if you're listening on the YouTube channel, well, you could just listen to the podcast as well. Like, you don't have to watch the video. You can go check it out on Spotify, all the podcast places. Anyway, thanks so much. Super appreciate you, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.